Hey, good afternoon to you. Mark Sutter with HurricaneTrack.com here. It is Thursday now, the 29th day of April 2021, and this video is a recap and summary of the April 27th severe weather event that I went out and covered in the Texas area, and that's a big area, thanks to the help of one of our crowdfunding supporters and all-around great guy and superb driver. His name is Matt. He is from Austin. I'll talk more about Matt in just a moment. But this is going to be a summary of what was accomplished, what my goals were, and some ideas that I have now sort of grown in the old noodle here because of this. You see the backdrop there, the picture, this graphic put together from one of our crowdfunding supporters over in the UK. That is a supercell and the mesocyclone there. All kinds of meteorology happening in just that one picture. But there was more to it than that, and that's what I want to talk about. First, a big thank you to all of our crowdfunding supporters. This entire field mission and expedition, whatever you want to call it, testing opportunity, was made possible because of this crowdfunded science that we have through Patreon and the HurricaneTrack Insider site. The crowdfunding world is incredible right now. Everything from animators to bloggers to musicians, artists, podcasters, and even people in the weather world. And this is part of that. Truly remarkable what we can do with the power of many people. And we're approaching, all told, about 700 people now that support this project. A little over 600 on Patreon specifically, and then several dozen from our HurricaneTrack Insider. Early days. Some people have stayed with that for more than 10 years. But it all adds up, and that is the reason I was able to head out there, including, like I said, the assistance from one of our supporters, Matt Clemens from Austin. He came up to help out driving, using his vehicle, his nice Toyota truck. I mean, it was great, and that's how I am able to do this, and that's very important to understand. So thank you all very, very much. So here's the results of what all of this was about, what it was for, and what I learned. And let's start with a look back at the setup. The convective outlook from the Storm Prediction Center indicated a slight risk in this part of the country. We saw this going back several days, even the week before. Generally speaking, this area of the country was highlighted on the day 7 convective outlook all the way back almost a week ago. And I was in Mississippi working with Greg Nordstrom, one of my colleagues, on another project, the season 2 of the Hurricane Highway. We were getting interviews done and doing some general consulting and that kind of stuff. And we saw this pop up. I got really excited about it because it's kind of right in the heart of the alley there. Why was I excited about it? Well, I wanted to get out there and do some testing of our equipment, our live cams, as well as some of our data collection capability, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So the setup indicated about a 5% chance of tornadoes in the brown area right here. And so I thought, all right, we'll probably target this area. I had feedback from several people on social media. John Castle, I was messaging him privately on Twitter. You know, I am a hurricane, I would say, expert. You know, that does not mean I know everything. Please do not ever misconstrue the word expert as omnipotent, okay? And look those words up if you don't know what those mean. I don't know everything about hurricanes, but I'm definitely more of an expert on the hurricane side of things than I am for severe weather. Some of the terminology I don't understand. And so, as somebody who's learning and always wants to learn, I can rely on others to help me to learn. So, I was looking at information that John Castle, I sometimes refer to him in my updates, that he was tweeting out, that he was sending me privately, Tomer Berg, and others. All right, so kind of getting a consensus as to what might happen out there, and then looking at the Storm Prediction Center, which, you know, there's a 5% probability for tornado, 15% here for wind damage, or damaging wind, as it were, and then much larger, you know, we're talking significant threat here for hail in the hatched area. And I was like, all right, so this has overall a fairly low potential of being a widespread, high impact really big time event. I mean, look, it's just a slight risk, not even enhanced or moderate. So that gave me, a few challenges. That the severe weather is going to be kind of hard to find, for one thing. The good side is there wouldn't be the potential of thousands of chasers out there, because a lot of people do this now for hobby. Some people try to earn a living doing it by selling the video to various news outlets or monetizing it on social media through viral video agencies like Viral Hog or whatever. I mean, that's the world we live in. But what I wanted to do was look at it from the backdrop of a testing opportunity for equipment, working with some people in the area. Again, Matt coming up from Austin, and we were going to meet with one of our other supporters, a gentleman named Jeff Geyer from the Weatherford area. I mean, there was just a big purpose to all of this, rather than just saying, hey, let's go out there and do some storm chasing. There's nothing wrong with that. But as a geographer, by degree and by profession, I want to know about the processes that are involved in how the weather affects us on the surface of this earth. You understand? The people, the places, the things that the weather will affect and impact. How does it do so? And what can I do to learn more about it, while getting people to be aware of the situation? And because of the technology that we use and this connected world that we have, I'm able to bring people with us on that expedition, on that journey, to learn more about how the weather does what it does. So that was the main purpose for going out there. And one of the things I wanted to do was to set up a few of these unmanned camera boxes. You've seen these numerous times in various videos. I mean, this goes back to 2005 when I first came up with this idea. And this is what one of them looks like. This is one that Matt and I had set up. But there's something very different and important about this one. Let's use red to highlight it. It is this little guy right here. I'm going to draw an arrow and point to it. That little blue thing there, you can barely see it. That is a Kestrel Drop 3 sensor from Kestrel Instruments. Kestrel makes a lot of handheld weather stations and stuff like that. And so this is what the computer box and the case looks like that we set up. This is that same camera box before we put it up. There is a Raspberry Pi computer right there. Terrible arrow, but I'm trying. And so what does all that have to do with anything? Well, in addition to the live video, one of the big things that I've been pushing for is the ability to take these little blue Kestrels and transmit their data, which is, in this case, temperature, humidity, dew point, and pressure, in real time back to our server, our website, our HurricaneTrack Insider site. And so our supporters would be able to have access to it. And they're not just supporters. Of course, they are investors fiscally with their money in the project. Some of them bought this equipment itself, but they are also the end user. And in a hurricane, we want to have a big network of all of these camera systems and what we call these connected Kestrels. Thanks, Pete, for that moniker. Pete, and he's helped to fund a lot of this down in Charleston, came up with that sort of catchphrase. They are connected Kestrels, because that's exactly what they are. Don't have one in the office with me, but that's what it looks like. That's a little Raspberry Pi, and we worked together with several different people to come up with a way to capture that data over Bluetooth and then send it out using the Verizon hotspot, which is right there, which is what we use to transmit our video, so that it's all in one nice little package or interface, the user interface, on our website, on the HurricaneTrack Insider site. And this is what it ended up looking like. Really, really cool. I am just so impressed with it. The coding efforts of Will Woodgate from over in the UK, phenomenal. So there's the Nest feed right there. This is live video, when it's running. That's why it says live. And this is the data. So you get a timestamp in here, the temperature, and the air pressure is station pressure. We would have to adjust for the elevation that we are in to get the actual pressure. That's just the pressure right there where the instrument is. It's not adjusted for sea level. In a hurricane situation, we're going to be 2, 3, 5, 10 feet above sea level in most cases. And so the pressure will be, accurate. In other words, the pressure will be what you see it is. But it worked. It worked great. The humidity, 59%. and the dew point 58 degrees at that time. And that was all important because you have terms and things that you're dealing with like the dry line. And on one side of the dry line, you have very low dew points, in some cases 30s and 20s. And on the wet side of the dry line, if you will, the moist side, dew points in the 50s, 60s, and in some cases, especially later in May, we're probably going to see those dew points in the 70s. And it's that boundary between the warm air and the cooler, drier air that these storms could erupt upon. So the idea was to set these boxes up, these live camera systems, and these connected kestrels across and inside of this box, or oval, if you will. Now, I only took 4 of them, which is not a lot. That's all that I could airline. And I flew from Wilmington, got a direct flight over to Dallas, and Matt drove up from Austin to pick me up. And like I said, we went over to Weatherford that evening and had dinner with one of my longtime supporters, Jeff, who actually has a roofing and tarp contracting company, among other things. All around awesome guy. It was nice to finally be able to meet him. He has been supporting our effort for a number of years. And so then the idea was that Matt and I would head over here to Abilene for the night, and then along the way drop a couple of cameras. Just in case on Tuesday some storms came across, we'd catch them. You never know. I mean, it's a crapshoot. But the purpose of this was mainly to test our stuff in a real-world situation and see how it works. I could go out in my backyard over there and put all the stuff out on a daily basis and test it there, and it wouldn't cost me anything. But that's boring. It is, and the kids and the dogs might mess with the equipment or whatever. This is a better way to do stuff. You can test stuff in the lab all day long, then you got to get it out in the real world. We call that control and variable. As a scientist, you have to take those things into consideration. And so that's why we were there. That was the setup. So that was Monday into Monday night. So Matt and I had a couple units set up, and then we looked at the pattern and some things that were being said on social media. And it was interesting because Tuesday morning, for some reason, I misinterpreted some stuff and thought that we should head down to this area near Del Rio and vicinity. And I was dead wrong, and I figured it out when we were like 4 minutes outside of Abilene heading south. I was like, wait a minute, I don't think that's right. And I changed and I said, look, we need to be up here near Childress and Vernon, Texas. That's what the consensus from different people seemed to be suggesting. And so that was our plan. Get our butts up here to Childress, and then somewhere along the way, along some of this road network through here, whatever, we would set up some more cameras just along the way. Kind of short fuse, rapid deployment kind of thing. They don't have to be set up for a day in advance like we do for hurricanes. Keep a couple of cameras back, set them up as the case warranted, as the situation warranted. And so what happened was, as Matt drove, I started looking at the HRRR, the high resolution model, and it was indicating that by afternoon there should be some storms firing up somewhere in here and generally heading off to the northeast towards the southwest Oklahoma area. So the modeling, that high resolution modeling, was also indicating that we were heading in the right direction, generally speaking. And then I saw more and more on social media from people like Tomer Berg and others that were suggesting, showing analysis, and that includes Jack Sillen. I mean, he's all the way up in Maine. He's not even there. What dog does he have in this fight? Well, the dog that he has in the fight is he's going to be a forecaster. Kind of already is, right? And so he's trying to understand this stuff better, too, from a forecasting perspective. So it was really cool to see that the general consensus was somewhere in this area there should be the potential for, if there's going to be a tornado, it would likely be in there somewhere, roughly. So Matt and I thought we're on the right path. So we drove up from Abilene, and I love this map here. This is, again, something that Will put together for us. We drove up here north out of Abilene and went up some of these road networks here, generally working our way up this way, went north of Knox City,
and they got to the Brazos River right there. Let me pan up and show you. Whoops. Hold on. There we go. Got to the Brazos River there, just south of Benjamin, Texas. Texas, which is right there. And we stopped and put a camera on the bridge. There's like an old bridge there from 1938 or 9 or somewhere around there that sits right next to the new highway that's been there. And we put the camera system right on the vertical steel superstructure of the old bridge right here. And it was facing out generally in this direction. And that was the view that we had. And I thought, if anything happens out that way, we get a supercell to develop, over to the west over here and southwest, and it tracks in this direction, this camera right here will see it, because we would have a heck of a horizon to do so. And it worked. Here's what that looked like. This is incredible. It really is. That's so cool. I think it is. That's a supercell that developed off to the west. Huge horizon, big wide shot that we have there from the Nest camera. This was shown on the Weather Channel. Our supporters were able to watch it. I mean, it was really, really neat. We go back and look at what we can learn from this. Can you see the rotation? I can. Isn't that cool? I mean, that is science right there. That is photogrammetry. That is using video as data. You can see the turning of the supercell. And that is important. That is incredible. And we need to do this more, using time-lapse more and more to help us to unlock secrets from nature will be very helpful. We do it in hurricanes all the time. Why is that turning? Hopefully you can still see me while I play with the video. Yes, you can. That's great. So why is it turning like that? And you can see it. It's kind of going like that. My eyes don't deceive me. There's definitely some turning there. Well, it's doing so because the winds in the atmosphere are veering. It's not all going parallel. So you have kind of like a pencil rolling on a tabletop. And if you could bend that pencil vertically, it would spin. I mean, that's the idea. So you got all this flow going one way in one layer of the atmosphere, and then another layer of the atmosphere, the wind is coming a different way, and it creates shear. And then you pop a thunderstorm up vertically through that, and you begin to bend that shear into the vertical. That's the very simple way to describe it. And that's what you have there, a rotating updraft. There it is. That's a rotating updraft for you. And this is not even, look at that bird. There was thousands of birds at this bridge, let me tell you. I actually flew my drone around there, got some great shots, sort of the setup stuff for later. But this is huge. This is such a neat thing. And then it went on. That storm produced a tornado. It gets out of the frame, and then more convection comes by throughout the day. There's the Brazos River. This was really neat to see. It ran for several hours, got a little bit of hail on the camera. Other more minor supercells, I don't even know if they were supercells, but minor storms went by. There's our severe weather spring season logo. But the point is, it worked. We had that set up. Whoops, sorry, trying to make it go away. And I was very happy with that. So we went on, after setting that camera up, Matt and I did, and made our way up to Crowell, and then finally over through, we went through Crowell, and then up here through, I don't know how you say that, Quanah, Quanah, whatever, and then went up to Childress. And by the time we got to Childress, there was, in fact, that developing supercell out here. And it was moving in the general direction. Actually, it started moving to the right, a right-moving supercell, as they call it, where the dry line was sitting back here. So we stopped in Childress, grabbed some Arby's, had a really nice truck stop that was there. It was so funny. Matt and I were literally like, dude, this is like the best Arby's. Clean, big truck stop. Everybody was so nice. Truckers coming in. Everybody knew each other. It was like weird. It might as well have been like a cheesecake factory or something. It was so nice. Had a quick bite to eat, looking at the radar, looking at what our members, our supporters are saying in the background. CJ, now this is the other part of this. CJ Morgan, also one of our supporters and all-around great guy, was anchoring the coverage for us on the HurricaneTrack Insider site. So he was doing like I'm doing right now, kind of a play-by-play in real time. So we were talking with CJ.
seeing what he was saying in the chat and so forth, and all of us working together behind the scenes, that we determined we need to either get over here back to Crowell or to Vernon and then drop south and try to intercept that supercell, which had, again, it had turned right, a right-moving supercell, and try to get some cameras and a GoPro included in front of that thing, not get over, intercept the tornado. I'm not Reed Timmer. I don't have an armored vehicle or whatever, but we wanted to be able to intercept that storm at some point and do so safely. So that became the next phase of this project. And that afternoon, I got to eat about half of my lunch. And for the record, I had a turkey sandwich with no mayo or mustard, and so it was quite healthy, thank you very much. The Coca-Cola I had with it was not, but I digress. So we left, went back down the highway, got to Vernon, cut south, and we nailed it. Right in here, that supercell intersected the highway, and this is what we got. So the plan was to put out a one of these boxes, one of these guys right here. Let me just go back to this picture real quick. We had one of these left. I took 4. We had 2 set up on I-20 between Abilene and Weatherford. We had a 3rd set up on the Brazos River south of Benjamin, like I told you. And then we had one more that was left with us in Matt's truck. So we jumped out and put it on this pole right here. Let me get this to where you can see me. Hang on. This is the vehicle cam. This is the Nest cam from the vehicle. And you're going to see that we jump out and we go put the camera on that pole right there. Let me put this forward. There's us. So there's the camera. I'm sorry. This is the camera itself. My fault. This is a view from the camera. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember everything. So the box is literally running, I guess, sitting on the side of the road. There's us walking around, putting the GoPro up, whatever. There's my hairy legs. Boom. We put it on the pole, and then here comes the supercell. There it comes. Isn't that just incredible? Look at the rotation there. The cows, they're like, oh, heck. There's the hail, all right in here. Big hail core with it coming. Baseball-size hail in there. In some instances, golf ball to baseball. But look at that updraft. Oh, my goodness, it was incredible. The cows head for shelter, the hail and the rain, and then look what happens. You can tell, looking at the video, look at that wind. It's screaming through there. I wish I had an anemometer, but just looking at this and past hurricanes I've been in, that's easily 60 to 70 miles per hour. And you know what's in that wind? Hailstones. And that can be a big, big problem. When you blow those golf balls around at 70 miles per hour, you have huge issues, and that's what we had last night in Norman. We'll get to that in just a minute. So it also dumps a lot of rain. You see the field fill up there? Look, it was dry. Now it's flooded, to some extent. Big hailstones, a lot of lightning, and then the supercell moves by, and the dry line is still way off in the distance back there, many tens of miles away. That's the dry line. The supercell separated from the dry line, and that was really, really neat to see. We captured that. This is the vehicle cam itself. Here's us kind of tooling around. This is when we stopped to set up the cam. Now you'll see us go set it up. Sorry, 2 different perspectives here. But I think that's really neat to be able to show this. Ooh, look at that lightning bolt, right? You saw a little flat. There it is. It's in between frames. Anyway, we set up the camera. There's us setting it up right there. There's Matt helping me out. There's the supercell coming in the distance. We set it up. And then we're like, all right, we got to get out of here. Because we figured if this drops a tornado and there's also big hail, it might come right over this camera. We're trying to put a needle in a haystack, so to speak. So I put the camera on the roof. It's kind of tilted, I'm sorry. But even here as we drive, you can see that rotating updraft. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. Even tilted. Oh, my goodness, that's so freaking cool. And I never could get it right because I'm just scrambling to get video and put the drone up. So then we stop, finally. And you can see that thing coming. I think I got another video in here that I can show you somewhere. I think that's it from these perspectives. I put some up on Twitter from my iPhone where you can actually see a funnel that dropped just to our east. But the mesocyclone and the supercell moved right over us. We avoided the hail. Our cameras captured it, and it was a very successful day. The data stuff worked. We had one problem with one of the Raspberry Pis. It stopped working after 2 hours. We'll figure that out. But all in all, it was a very good success, and we actually got to drop the GoPro Max in a field when there was another approaching hail core. And Matt didn't want to get 3-inch hail on his car, his truck. I understand that. So we popped the GoPro out on a nice flat tripod. It's very low to the ground, so it's very sturdy. Here comes the storm. The hail core comes in, and then all of a sudden there comes these big hailstones. As they say, wait for it. There they are. There's the hail falling. And this is a very wide shot. All right, you got to understand that. And just as an example, this guy right here, that's about the size of a tennis ball. That's about the size of a baseball. A lot of these out here are golf ball size. That's golf ball. So big hailstones. There's another big one right there. Some of them were round, and some of them were very jagged when we got back. There's a nice golf ball that fell there. Some of them were jagged. I am fascinated by hail. I think it's really interesting, the different formations of it. Why does it do that? So I'm going to use GoPros to capture this more and more. Can't bring a vehicle in there because it'll bust up your vehicle. We saw lots of video and pictures of that. I mean, a bad hailstorm busted up Matt's house and his wife's car within the last couple of weeks down in Austin. I posted the video from one of his security cams on Twitter about that recently. So that was the crux of the field expedition out there in Texas. We learned a lot. I flew home last night, and then what happens? Another big outbreak yesterday of some rather nasty weather. Whoops, take those away. San Antonio got hail. Fort Worth got some hail, and then just north of the Norman area in Oklahoma, near Oklahoma City up here, got some hail as well. Very bad hail in those areas. You've seen that today. Oh, Norman's south of there. Sorry. So it's about right in here, north of Norman, between there and Oklahoma City. Major hail for those areas. Probably over $1 billion in damage. Seriously, from yesterday's event. Too bad I couldn't stay out there for that. But that was mostly near dark, and there wasn't really a lot that we could have done about that. And I wasn't equipped to see the hail and whatever for yesterday. This was a one-day thing. So where do we go from here? Let's go back to the title card as I try to wrap this up. So this gives me inspiration for going back out there in May with even more purpose. A couple of things I want to do is to start focusing on still setting up a few cameras ahead of time, but that's really, really hard. Even if we went out there with all 20 cameras that we have and set them up in a grid or whatever inside of a moderate risk or the day of if there's a high risk or whatever the case may be, even when they issue a mesoscale discussion kind of narrowing it down even further, it's still a crapshoot. Yes, we're still going to put up a few cams because it's just neat to watch, and you never know, you might get one like the Brazos River there. Just to show you again, where did it go? Hold on. You know, that was a really good idea that we did with the one on the Brazos there in south of Benjamin. This is cool, and this is helpful for the future where we can catch stuff like this, run it in time lapse. Yeah, that's a good idea. So we're going to continue to set up some units ahead of time, but I also want to have a few back for that rapid deployment, including several more GoPros that we can stick up and maybe spread out over a 2-mile area and have the tornado or the supercell go over that area. And in addition, have those kestrels set on maybe 1-second data capture to capture some pressure and humidity and temperature data. That could be very useful as well. But, you know, people want to see what happens. They have a natural curiosity. They don't want to see me get hurt. At least I hope they don't. So the safest way to do this is to set the stuff up quickly. And I'm not the first person to think of this. Don't think that I am, or that I'm thinking that I am. You know, other folks have tried to pioneer different probes. The late scientist Tim Samaras and his operation, unfortunately, the El Reno, Oklahoma tornado of 2013, ended that in a horrible way. But you have to try. You know, you have to try. And I think that we can come up with a really neat way to show you what happens live and through these GoPros. And the GoPros can take a lot. We can put little trackers on there if we were to lose them, either from Tile or some of these new things from Apple. And just see what we can do to learn more. But the main thing that I want to push here, I'm serious, I think the use of time-lapse could be incredibly helpful to the scientific community. You can collect weather data, the meteorological data, using sensors, but I still think that visual data, what we see with our eyes and through the eyes of this technology, can be equally as helpful. So that if you can put nature into motion, speed it up, and in some cases slow it down, if you capture a close-range video of a tornado, you can slow down the footage and do photogrammetry to get a determination of wind speed, that there is a lot that we can do with this. And we could take that video, donate it, just offer it up, the full high-resolution video, the raw video, to the University of Oklahoma, to Texas A&M. Anybody that wants it, check it out. See what you can learn from it. There might be the day that a very smart up-and-coming college kid figures out how to take that video into a program and use AI and other algorithm-based mathematics and physics to map onto that video something that tells us how fast the winds are, what the updrafts are. I'm absolutely serious. We don't know what we can do with this. So that's the separation and what makes this different than traditional storm chasing video that you see. And to kind of finish this up, my summary here, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting that into some other category that what we are doing is better. But what I want to do is have a purpose out there. I don't want to go out there just for the sake of being out there. Yes, it's beautiful to see, no doubt about it. It's dangerous. There are going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of chasers on a bigger day. And that is a big problem. And so we want to be able to set our stuff up, capture the data meteorologically, and through video, through high-resolution video, we're talking 4K, and then do something with that down the road that can help to contribute to the science. I'm a big believer in doing just that. All right? All right, so there you go. Nice recap of what we did. And again, a huge thank you to our Patreon community. If you want to get involved, now that you see what we do with it, that is how you do so right there. Patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. That's where we are. The description of this video on YouTube has a link directly to it. But that's what we're doing with the crowdfunding. That's what we're doing with the people and their intuition and their ideas, their innovation, and even coming to help in person, like Matt did in the time we spent with Jeff, getting input from him. It is incredible, and I appreciate it very much. If you want to become a part of it, this is what we do with it. So there you go. What better testimonial? All right. Well, that is it from me. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Hurricane season is coming. This helps us to get ready for that. Thanks for supporting it. Thanks for watching this video. I'll talk to you next time.